as we start looking at how we can use I in both our algebraic expressions and in their operations, we'll often come up on different powers of I. Here's what I mean by that. If I were to take I to the 0 power, we should recognize the pattern that anything to the 0 power is always equal to 1. Well, if I multiply both sides of this expression by I, we'll end up with I to the 1st power, which is just I, 1 times I. If I multiply both sides of this expression in green by I, I'll end up with I squared. But we already know that I squared is equal to -1. And if I multiply both sides by I again, we'll get I cubed is equal to -1 times I, which is -I. If I were to keep going and do I to the 4th power, we would have -I squared. Well, I squared is -1, so -1 is a positive 1. And so what you notice is happening is we're back at the top of this pattern. What we're saying is that it's going to cycle through the pattern 1I, -1, -I, and then back again, 1I, -1, -I. In other words, if I have a big power on I can divide the exponent by 4, and the remainder is used to simplify the expression. Let's take a look at some examples of that. If I've got I to the 223rd power, that's a huge power, but we know it's going to cycle through every 4. So we'll take 223 and divide by 4. 4 goes into 22 5 times. That's 20. Subtract to get 2. Bring down the 3. 4 goes into 23 5 times. That's 20. Subtract to get 3. And I don't really care about the 55. I care about the remainder 3. Because that means I to the 223rd power is equal to I to the 3rd power. And I know from my pattern up above that I to the 3rd power is equal to -I. So I to the 223 simplifies to -I. Let's try one more example. Let's do I to the 96th power. Well, to simplify that, we divide the 96 by 4, because that's how many steps are in the cycle. 4 goes into 9 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract, and I get 1. Bring down the 6. 4 goes into 16 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. Subtract and get 0, which means we have a remainder of 0. I don't care about the 24, but I do care about the remainder. This is the same as I to the 0 power. And anything to the 0 power we know is 1. So in this way, we can simplify any power of I down to either 1I, -1, or -I. And this is going to be very helpful when we get to doing multiplication with imaginary numbers.